BitShares is a world-class blockchain like Bitcoin with a digital currency platform boasting enterprise-level scalability and throughput with separations of power and self-governance baked in. Need the power of a blockchain with the stability of a dollar? We invented it and tested it for 3 years. Want to make a loyalty token, coupon, or shares in your business? We have you covered. Wish to add world-class development? This tech can fund your work. Whether for an everyday entrepreneur or computer-savvy code guru, BitShares provides tools to empower a world of unapologetic innovators to wield and share value with a level of freedom once thought impossible. Meet a community of such innovators every Friday at 2 p.m. UTC, led by Chris Herring and Fuzzy, to play a role in the evolution and advancement of this state-of-the-art project. Welcome to the BitShares revolution. You just leveled up.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. This is the next episode of BitShares podcast. We are now back again at the Beyond Bitcoin radio show. My name is Chris4210. I'm a committee member of the BitShares blockchain, and we are holding this weekly mumble where we talk about the latest updates and news and features and discussions, workers, and all the other fuss that is happening on the BitShares blockchain. And we want to invite everybody for this discussion. So you can join us here on the Beyond Bitcoin Mumble server. You can find the login information on steemit.com. If you just Google for it, you can also find it in the forums. Today, we're going to talk about a lot of different topics. And one of the main topics that I wrote down during the week is something that I came up last weekend is I want to start a little new feature for this little radio show, because I want to basically say the first 5 minutes of the show, we're going to have one member of the community describing and explaining a specific feature of the graphene, of the BitShares platform. Because what I noticed that even if we have people here from the old ages, from the old time, angel shares and proto shares and so on, they still don't know what specific features are possible on the BitShares 2.0 platform. And I really would like to bring everybody on the same level so that we can really exchange our ideas, we can be creative how to use these features, and that also that newcomers can easily get up to speed with what is actually possible with this amazing platform. And a couple of topics, of course, we could talk about. And this is also something, if you want to present that, if you want to tell us a story, how that really works, we are open to your suggestion and also for your input, because of course I don't really know all the features myself, especially when you look at the witness part. How does a witness work? How does the price feed work, and so on. So for example, I will publish a list of all the different features, and this little 5-minute snippets will then be presented also on Steemit. So the person who's going to give the talk is also getting rewards of the Steem that we will gain from that. Correct, Fuzzy?
That is correct.
All right. The first feature I would like to talk about is, and that is something that maybe not a lot of people know, if you're opening up there are two different versions or different versions of BitShares. There's the Lite client. This is a desktop version you can download for your PC or for your Mac. And then you have the online version. That is openledger.info. It's one of the different exchanges you can use, but there are also other versions of BitShares. So you can easily create your own interface, host it on your own website, and then access this global network. And one of the things that is really, really fascinating on the BitShares platform, you have a lot of different transactions you can do, a lot of tasks you can do. So the simplest one, of course, is to send money and tokens from one account to another account. But you can also create a new asset, or you can create a multi-signature account, or you can also, of course, trade. And now the interesting thing is, and that is that you now also can go basically through the Explorer tab in the wallet. You can look up different accounts, and then you can basically go to another account that is not controlled and not owned by you, and propose all kind of transaction to this account. So what does it mean? That means if I'm in my home account, if you're in Chris4210 account, I then can go, for example, to Fuzzy and send him an invoice. I can send him a request, please send me $10 to my account. And then Fuzzy, when he opens up his wallet, he sees that transaction and he then can confirm it and send me the money, or he can deny it and not do it. And in this way, you can do that with all kind of transactions on the blockchain. So that also means you can basically propose somebody to create an asset, for example, a token, and then you can even decide who is paying for that. What you also can do is you can basically propose somebody to change ownership of a token. You can also, I'm not sure if that is with trading as well, or if you can also propose somebody to trade, but there's a lot of different things that you can do, and this opens up the whole platform for a lot of cool features and business models. And I didn't really knew that it was working so well, but this is something really, really unique, because for example on the Bitcoin blockchain you cannot just send somebody an invoice over the blockchain and then he has to approve or disapprove this transaction proposal. Do we have other commentaries to the proposal feature?
Well, we also have the worker proposals. We have, you're trying to stick to just this one area though, right?
Yes, the worker proposal is another very interesting feature, but we're going to cover that another time.
Yeah, okay, because I was thinking that you were kind of talking about in terms of all the various things that we offer. This is one of the facets of it. And really, to me, what I'm hearing is that all these other platforms that other people are checking and testing out, they don't have any of those features built in that BitShares offers like this. So it's quite literally by using BitShares, you enable all of these things out of the box. You don't have to go out and reinvent the wheel on this stuff because it's right there for you. You don't have to pay those extra costs, and it makes it a lot more beneficial for those who use the platform because they don't have to pay all those costs, because it just offers so many things just right out of the box like this.
Yeah, this is pretty amazing. And I think even the fact is that I can propose somebody, for example, to upgrade or update a multi-signature constellation or update an asset, and then I can pay that myself. So the person who actually has to confirm it, they don't even need to pay for that transaction. So that is also a really, really cool thing.
And enabling people to actually push that notification out and start the process of getting something accomplished. I don't know of any cryptocurrencies that really have this option, other than BitShares, of course.
Well, I think there's a lot. You can build it.
Of course.
It's not coming already in the whole blockchain package.
But that comes for a cost, right? If you're going to build it yourself.
Yeah, somebody has to pay that, or the core dev team. All right, so this is the first summary of one of the cool BitShares features, and we're going to pick up more and more topics. I have a very long list, I think, of 30 or 40 different features of the BitShares blockchain, of the Graphene blockchain, that I want to introduce over the next couple of weeks, and also, of course, want to ask developers, but also witnesses and committee members to also put their input in and to explain how, for example, they run a witness node. How do you do that? How do you provide a price feed? How does it work? How do you create a price stable digital asset on the blockchain, a so-called smart coin or market packed asset? It's all the same, but how does it work? And I'm here really open to community feedback, how to do that. Another thing that I want to introduce today, and this is also something that I came up because thanks to Faf, who's always making these really, really cool little GIF animations, and he's putting that on the new on the Twitter account of BitShares, but also on his own account. And I started to look into the tools for making GIFs, and I saw that it's actually super, super easy. So I came up with the idea that I'm going to start a contest. And with this contest, I will give away 33,333 BitShares to the contest winners.
Nice.
And this is basically everybody can participate in this little contest. And what it will be is I will publish a list of all kind of different features and actions and things that you can do on OpenLedger, but also on the Lite client. And everybody who can now submit a GIF of this action, for example, how to do a transfer, how to trade, how to make a backup, but also how to vote for a worker of a committee. Everybody who can provide a 10 to 15 second little video will be rewarded with part of these 33,333 BitShares. I will start that contest later today. Everybody can participate. And then we're going to select the best winners for each feature. And this is something that I really would like to start because I'm very happy to give away the BitShares for this feature, because I just realized making GIFs today is so easy, and you can introduce so many cool features and explain exactly how that all works. It can be all published on Steemit later. It can also be put up on the website and on the forums, so people can easily understand how to do a vote, how to propose a transaction, what is a chat program, how do I change my name, and so on. So this will be started today. I'm just looking for the list of all the different features, and this will run for a couple of weeks. And I'm very happy for your feedback, for your submissions, and let's make a really, really cool collection of GIF files that are explaining how BitShares really works for the whole world.
That sounds like a great idea. For those who aren't familiar with it, you're talking the GIFs that a GIF is an image that it's almost like snapshots of images that move you through kind of like a movie type of visualization, but it's a very choppy looking movie because it's just frame by frame, but it shows you how to do things because people have actually used them, like Fav has used them for little tutorials that you can post in, and you can add it in with text and actually show people how you did something without them ever having to go to like YouTube or anything. You just upload it and it's there, right?
You're talking about an animated GIF.
An animated GIF, exactly. So this is what you usually see on Facebook or on Twitter or everywhere, where you see basically all these different memes. And you can use that. You can create little videos of 15 to 20 seconds to show that feature. And Fuzz just posted here in the chat as well that we are taking these GIFs, we are going to publish them on steemit.com, and of course the money that will be earned by these posts is going back to the creators. So we provide you a global platform and you will get rewarded for just creating a really small little animation. So the next topic I want to talk about for this Friday, I'm looking at the current pool for the forum software. We were talking about the last 2 weeks that we want to upgrade our current forum software, BitShares.talk.org, to different forum softwares, and Discourse is the winner in the current pool with 15 votes voting for Discourse, and we have 9 votes that say we want to keep the current forum. We'll just post a little link here, and then we see what is your commentary, and the poll is still open till the end of the month, so we have another 11 days, and we're going to close it and basically prepare the movement of the forum if we want to go to the new platform. Do we have any feedback, opinions about moving the forum?
I would like to know if there's an update on any of the, like with G-Chicken, if he found out if there's a way of moving the forum data to other forums, or we kind of talked about that a little bit with the community, and I don't know if anybody else has looked into it, but that would be something that I'd be interested to hear some updates on what the people who've been working on that are finding.
I think the first step would be to figure out somebody who has administrative experience of forums, who know how the current form we're using here, the Simple Machine form software for the current BitShares Talk forum. And I posted a link how to import the database from Simple Machine to Discourse. But I would need somebody who can really look into that and see, okay, the tool, the script that is published on GitHub is working, and we don't really have a lot of problems about that. One of the arguments that we had in the Telegram chat was that there are ideas to basically start the forum from the scratch and just link to the old forum, or to just import basically the most active forum threads to the new forum, so that we are not bringing all the old threads to the new forum. Do we have opinions today about that?
Well, I know.
What was that question again? What was that question again, Chris?
Should we immigrate all old forum posts into the new forum, or should we start from scratch?
I think we should start from scratch, but we need to preserve that old information. I think it would be really a big mess to import that into a new thing. I think it would be very confusing. I think Data Security Node made a very good point when he said that we just ought to turn the old form into a read-only form so that people can't post new information to it, but we can access it just like we do right now. And I don't think that would be a big server burden, to be honest with you, for it being read-only. There's very little maintenance that would need to be done for doing that.
Buzz is making a really good suggestion here more of a question. Have we looked into how a forum could look that's built on top of Steam?
Yes, we have looked at that. It's been discussed in the forum as well as here, if I'm not mistaken, last week. And unfortunately, with regard to using Steam as an alternative to the forum, is not suitable because we don't have the long-term view of the information. So it would fall off the radar. Would be hard to get, hard to find. So there just isn't the facilities in Steam currently to do. Yes, I'm sure. Because think about some of the posts that have been put out there and how hard it is to find them. They're not visible. You don't have the threaded nature of the discussions unless you were talking about using comments for that purpose, which might be a doable way to go. But I really don't think that Steam is a good platform for a forum. Frankly, it isn't as conducive for discussions and back and forth as the forums are.
No, we're not talking about Steam becoming the forums. We're talking about, otherwise I would say Steam it, right? This is for everybody who's listening, because there's a very big differentiation between the two. The front end is how the data is organized, and Steam it organizes the data in such a way that we have definitely determined that you don't want in your community to have a forum where you post something and for one day it is visible and then people have to search through stuff, even if it's a really popular thing. The model with forums that actually bump up the comment, for instance, whenever it's been, when there have been more comments added to it and things like that, that's a beautiful model. But that data, like that representation of the data and organization of the data could be done, I'm assuming, on a custom kind of forum, right? Like a PHP based forum or something. Would that be possible?
Well, I'm sure that you could develop software using the Steam blockchain if that's what you're referring to. But that's a whole big development effort for one, and for another thing is then we have to compete for the use of that blockchain with a lot of traffic coming from Steam itself. So it may not be suitable for the long-term growth. We may have a lot more volume of data there that would not be useful for either community all that much. It would be competing with each other in terms of the data volume. That's what I'm suggesting.
Well, might that not be a good way of, offering multiple community? Well, we won't get into that. But so you're saying that it's a large project and it would be something that would be pretty difficult to pull off.
It couldn't be done for a few months. I mean, it certainly would take several months to pull that off if we had some dedicated programmers working on it. It's probably not a major effort, but think about how all the different UI issues that have come up on Steam and how many of those would have to be worked out even after you've put the thing out there the first time. You're going to have to refine it, take a lot of feedback, and it's just a big effort. It just isn't something that's going to happen quickly.
So these issues were on Steam or on Steam it? I just want to make a
No, you're right. I understand your distinction. I mean, we're talking about a brand new UI using the Steam blockchain, but with a totally different UI that would be more for forum use. That's what I gathered you wanted to do. And if that's what you're proposing, I think it's going to take too much time to implement.
I think as well, the software is not ready yet, and what was proposed basically is a new interface for Steemit called busy.org, but I think they're not ready yet. So we have a couple of suggestions here in the chat that are just saying we should basically start the forum from scratch, and we should provide a link to the old forum, which is a read-only website. So in this way, you can still read the old threads, old discussions, but we will start with a new forum with new topics, and we will import basically or link back to the read-only website. I would like to continue the discussion about that in the forum itself so that we can move forward with the next topic for today. And one of the topics was, and that's what I wanted to bring about, is we had the discussion last week, beginning of last week, about increasing the payment for witness. BitCrab was proposing that the current witnesses are not getting paid enough, and he proposed that we should increase from currently 1.5 BitShares per block to 3, 5, 8 or other BitShares per block. And in this way, the argumentation was that when we are increasing the payment for witnesses who are maintaining the blockchain and are providing the price feeds, they are more encouraged to run a witness and are also more encouraged to provide extra features and other tools for the BitShares blockchain. What is your opinion about that? We have an open pool where you can still vote 7 more days. And this is something that we absolutely should discuss, and I will bring it up today.
Well, I put my vote in on this, and I think I'd be willing to change it and reduce it from what I had posted before. I think that we do need to improve the witness pool that we have, and in Data Security Node, if I'm not mistaken, wanted to increase it to the maximum of 8 that was in the poll, and he made a good argument for it. But I think that's a huge increase, and I don't think that's really going to help us in the short term. It may attract more people just looking for the money than anything for that magnitude of an increase. But I do believe that the witnesses have been working on charity for quite some time. I mean, it's actually pretty reasonable pay right now for 2 nodes, a primary witness node and a backup node, but that's kind of stretching it. It's right on the limit. So I would propose a doubling of the figure myself.
Okay.
Can I just real quick inject something, Chris?
Sure, go, please.
This is a good time to actually, I think, put into play the idea that was brought up of making kind of like what Dash nodes do, making witnesses have to hold a minimum amount of BTS. Because if we did that and coupled it with an increase in the pay, now you have the incentive for them to try to hold a bunch of BTS. And at the same, because they know that they're going to be producing future blocks, they're not going to want to sell it low, right? They're going to want to sell it higher, especially if they have to hold on to a bunch of BTS. So I'm thinking that maybe those two together would be a very good complement, and it kind of has proven it, I think, in the market.
You've got a very good point there, Fuzzy. In fact, when I looked at the forum briefly when we started this morning and I sent you that link, I was assuming that the link had to do with Bunker Chain Labs for Pure Plays. So I misunderstood what that post was about initially. But I kind of object to it being an immediate change. I think it's a good idea, and I'm actually agree with you. It is very much like the master nodes of Dash, but I don't think having an immediate requirement is the way to go. I think we need to set a date in the future where people can get, because I don't actually have that many BTS right now at my disposal. I'd have to liquidate other assets. So yeah. I think it would be a good, worthy thing to do, and it does kind of mitigate the increase in the witness pay to some degree. I still think an increase is necessary, especially if you're going to ask them to put in a collateral position of that many BTS but I think that's a good idea, and I'll stop there.
Can somebody shortly summarize what does it mean if you're increasing the witness pay? What kind of effect does it has for the blockchain?
Well, I've got a comment on that. Part of the reasoning that people were putting forward was that increasing the pay is going to attract witnesses from Steemit and other places. And my opinion is that if somebody's already a witness somewhere else, then they have all the equipment they're going to need to join and become a witness at Steemit. So it's just gravy for them. And also, Steemit BitShares witnesses can also try and be witnesses on Steemit and on the new graphene blockchain. So they're not limited to just BitShares. So although I'm in favor of a small increase in the pay, I'm not in favor of going up to 8 or 10 or whatever. Maybe doubling it would be fine, but there's other options.
Can I ask you guys a question then? Because what you're talking about, what if we had what Tom just said and what you're talking about, what if we had like the more BTS you hold as a witness up to like you have tiers where you have to hold a minimum, but once you go up these tiers, you actually can earn more as a witness.
That's an interesting idea. It would take some development to get that accomplished, I think.
I mean, it would let them kind of choose too, because everybody seems to have an opinion on what the witnesses should make, but the witnesses are probably the ones who are going to end up having to make the decision. We want to make it so the pool of witnesses is bigger, right?
I like the idea from the standpoint that I've been proposing that the feeds and the witness duties be split into two separate roles, and that's not really a popular idea. But if you introduce what you're talking about, having a tiered collateral system, so to speak, then maybe it would make more sense to split those duties along those lines.
So if you've finished interrupting me, I'll continue, all right?
Oh, my apologies. I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
Okay, so as I said, one of the main justifications seem to be to attract witnesses from Steemit and other blockchains. So I think that's just gravy. So that's one concept. The other concept is that if we raise the fees given to the witnesses on BitShares very high, expecting them to do extra work, we're raising it for everybody, whether they do the extra work or not, or the quality of their extra work. I think the duties of witnesses should be kept to a minimum, and everything else be done through workers.
As a little reminder, I just want to summarize what would be the effect if we are increasing the payment for the witness. So the witness pay is fueled by the reserve fund. BitShares has a reserve fund where we are pooling all transaction fees or all other fees that the BitShares blockchain is collecting and making. And there is a daily budget that is used to pay it out to pay witnesses, to run basically a witness node and to sign the blocks for the blockchain. But also part of that money is used to fuel worker proposals, and these are basically the employees of the blockchain. We have 3 or 4 worker proposals voted in right now, including one for the interface, one for the core development, and also another one for cleaning up the GitHub repro. So what that means is if we are increasing the witness pay, we are basically paying more money for people to run a server to sign the blocks, but we are also decreasing the amount for the workers. So we have to keep that in mind, that if you're increasing the payments, that we are also taking money away from a different part. So we have to also think about that.
That's a very good point, Chris. And I think the committee has control of how much is dedicated to that reserve pool, but others can speak to that issue. So what I'm saying is maybe even though what you just said is true, perhaps the overall amount that's being put in the reserve pool for both of those functions could be increased.
Well, I think for me, I didn't comment it yet on the discussion, because I first have to read a little bit more about it. What are the different effects? And I also want to make a little calculation to really see how much more we are going to pay for witnesses. But I also agree with Bunker Chain Lab that even if you start to pay witnesses more, how do we incentivize to also deliver more work? Of course, I would like to pay for more money for witnesses if they deliver some work, but that also means that we then have to basically rattle the cages, and we have to go through all the active witnesses and basically check them every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, and say like, hey, are you actually active or not? And if you're not active, then we have to vote you out. And we have to need some kind of reporting about what is happening with the witnesses. And as far as I know, we have a lot of witnesses who are voted in but haven't been active for a long time. So it's a kind of a blind spot in our machine room of the BitShares blockchain where we are not really active yet. But if we want to increase the witness pay, then we also have to consider that, and also, of course, provide new witnesses a platform so that they can say like, you know what, this guy has more votes than me, but he's not doing his job. Please vote for me because I will do it instead. So we also have to provide a platform where people can promote their services and to get paid and to get in. So we also have to consider that.
I will make one last comment before I let many other people speak on this, but I agree with you with that, Chris. And one of the other proposals I've heard along these lines, which would also require some changes to the code, would be that witness votes would eventually taper away, so that would require them to campaign more, to require them to be more active, proactive, because their votes over a period of time would disappear.
You mean basically that the vote is going to be resetted after a while?
I don't know if reset's the right word for it, but the whole idea is whatever vote level you have at point A in time, as time moves on, that would decay and those votes would just go away. In other words, there would be maybe reset is the right way to look at it. You put a vote in for a witness, and that vote is good for X amount of time, and when that period expires, and the votes no longer are active, and you have to either vote again or to renew that level of support.
Do we have some people who have or can share their experience on the BitShare and on the Steemit blockchain? I see a lot of people who are very active campaigning for being a witness on the Steemit blockchain. How is that going? How is the success? Is it a real battle between witnesses?
I see a little bit of a battle because there are people who are messaging me asking me for votes and stuff like that. But it's, to me, I haven't heard too much about it. I would imagine the big whales have the biggest problems with it.
Okay, do we have any other comments about that?
I'll say this. I think that witnesses should be invested in the platform. I think that value added or in early days, we should consider, if maybe not at this value, at the price that they're getting paid right now, but worker proposals are a nice thing to have for our toolbox. But I don't think that we should ever really limit ourselves by saying, that worker proposals are the only way of doing this and that witnesses shouldn't be considered that, because there are a lot of witnesses out there who would offer the witness feeds and all the services, but would add something extra. And I think that's something that people, we shouldn't ignore, because a lot of people, whenever you give them the ability, kind of like the master nodes, they have an incentive to do what they think is valuable. And they kind of bring an X factor that's kind of hard to quantify, but it works and we can see it. So those are the types of things that I hope that we do consider when we move forward.
I was wondering, what is our lesson learned from the delegate system in BitShares 1.0? We paid basically delegates and asked them, hey, can you do marketing? Can you do this or that? And I remember that how did that work?
There was a lot more competition during those days, I can tell you that.
I mean, we had people who'd come on for delegate hangouts. We would offer them, they would tell us the value proposition they wanted to bring. And, well, we did have a lot of waste, but let me ask you a question, T-Bone. What happens when you only have witnesses who really, they're just providing the feeds? Yes, they're doing their job, but a lot of people don't, having the delegate system the way we had it, we could show all the life that was teaming. Like we had people create a documentary for BitShares, for God's sake, during that period of time. I haven't seen anybody even consider it. We got Roadscape from the delegate system. We got a bunch of the people who became people who worked on our ecosystem for free. I mean, I don't see why we can't try to incorporate both if possible.
I certainly think that the Graphene 2.0 era is a lot more sophisticated and a lot better in many respects, but there is a blind spot, as you point out, Chris, about not having a continual need to campaign and make sure that you're offering value and the check and balance on that. And some of that is because we've just lost a lot of momentum with Steam coming along and other people being distracted with other projects. But
well, that's not correct.
Oh, why is that?
Since Steam has come along, the volume on the exchange has actually increased. I want to make sure that everybody's aware of that. It's actually been helpful.
I was thinking more from the standpoint of witness involvement and activity on the forum. Maybe you're right. The DEX is probably a lot more active simply because Steam needs some place to trade. But as far as activity and focus on improving the BitShares platform, I think it's taken a lot of emphasis away from that.
Yeah, up to this point, you're right.
So I think there's a lot of positive arguments to say, yes, we should increase the payments, because then witnesses can increase also their machines, they can provide a better service. But on the other end, we also have to then, as a community, and we are the part of the active community, we also have to screen our witnesses more active. I want to bring up one other argument, and this is something that was very surprising to me. There was a Bitcoin Talk article or post about the Moonstone DAG, which is basically a clone of the BitShares blockchain. It's a little bit of a weird project. However, they are paying very good salaries to witnesses, and I was very surprised to see so many Bitcoiner or Bitcoin Talk people firing up a witness and firing up their server. So that was pretty amazing to see that. And I think that would be also a very good recruiting ground to get witnesses to say like, hey, you're already running the Moonstone DAG, whatever project that is, but you can also run a witness now for Steam or for BitShares because you already know how to do that. You know how to set up the machine, etc.
I noticed. Go ahead.
That was exactly my point. They can get paid by more than one blockchain, so there's no need to increase the pay for BitShares enormously. Doubling it to 3 is fine, but going above that is crazy.
Well, let me ask you a question though. Once upon a time, because this is kind of at the root of the security issue. Do you want each witness to only be running those witnesses on one machine? So if that one machine is tacked, now 3 witnesses potentially go down across 3 different networks? Or do you want them to have a computer for each one? Because those are things that will increase the cost to the witness, and we're going to have to, take that into account as well, right?
If they're diversified enough to make BitShares safe, then they're diversified enough to make all of the blockchains safe, in my opinion.
Yeah, so it's smart for them to have to not be running the same, like multiple witnesses on the same machine, right?
No, that's not what I was saying. I was saying they can use the same equipment for multiple chains.
Is there actually something like multi-mining similar to what you have on Bitcoin?
Oh, very much, yeah.
One thing to bring back up the Moonstone thing again, let's make sure that you might know more about this, Chris, than I do, and perhaps even you, Fuzzy. But this Moonstone name that has been proposed for this alternative blockchain is not the same people that were doing the Moonstone project, the wallet project, are they?
Yes. That is
it is
not,
the same.
No, it is not. Talon, the people who from Bit Sapphire, they said that they have nothing to do with the project.
It's a sock puppet, so to speak. They're capitalizing on that name, which I don't like seeing that myself. But at any rate, it's important that we make that clear, and I think it has been posted on the forum.
Well, it should be clear that people who are willing to do that, what else are they willing to do? In my opinion, what are you going? Which changes are you going to trust?
It casts aspersions to what their motives in all are. I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good point to bring up. So there's 2 different teams who are behind it. They just took over the name. However, they posted that in the altcoin discussion, and they already have 25 sites discussing about graphene, basically. So this is pretty cool, and they are very active. So this would be a good ground to also start promoting the BitShares blockchain and recruit witnesses and other servers.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are being proposed, a lot of good ideas, and we need to kind of prioritize and sort them out. So before we go recruiting, we need to make sure we understand what we want to accomplish and set our house in order. Like this 1 million or this collateral proposal that Data Security Node suggested, I think has merit, and we need to figure out whether or not we're going to increase pay, whether we're going to require a bounty or a collateral. All these things should happen before we do any recruiting outside the ecosystem, in my view.
Well, this is basically a new idea, how we can improve the BitShares blockchain with that. I think it's not matured yet, so we really have to wait and discuss it a little bit further because before we can start developing these features. A short update for BitShares itself. I'm going to mention that in the Beyond Bitcoin show as well. I want to thank everybody for their voting on the core development worker, Alfredo Garcia. He's voted in with 400 million votes, so he has the most support from the whole blockchain community, and I thank everybody for their trust and their support. And he already started to work on cleaning up part of the GitHub and also working with Vikram and also with Civec SVK, we have now a special channel for BitShares development where we have all the developers coming together, and we also added more BitShares Munich developers. So now we're really gonna align development, and we will start working on core features again, and also going to start working on our roadmap list that we published and talked about last week. So when you have suggestions, if you have ideas what you want to add, you can find that in our thread for the worker proposal, and we're always happy for your suggestions. And I would like to talk about these new features like data security note suggested in the future, so that we can coordinate our new core developers that we have for BitShares and move forward.
Hear, hear.
Did you say something, Fuzzy?
I said hear, hear.
Another thing is for the BitShares speed test, I think we have a new interface published. Is that correct?
A new interface?
Sirok, I think he published a new interface for the testnet where we can basically see all the KPIs, all the measurements for the speed test that we are running on the testnet.
Wow.
I think we have 8 or 9 witnesses now participating from the community. We are still looking for more, and I think we're going to start soon with the real tests. And I'm very excited to see the results, to see how far they can really go, how many transactions they really can put through to the testnet.
What are the requirements for that test in terms of the VPS or the systems that are going to be supporting? That's really important, because if you're going to measure the throughput, you're going to have a fairly beefy system to make sure you're not going to bump against the limits. And I think I saw your post, Chris, that a reply to somebody else saying that a 4 gigabyte RAM system would be minimum. And I would say the minimum should be higher for a test like this.
I'm not sure about the technical requirements for the test itself, but you can put that in the forum. If you go to forum general discussions, Gian Joe here posted up a post transaction throughput. I will also put it in the chat. I think some people said 4 gigabytes, but it should be, I agree. It should be a little bit more so that it can really stress the testnet.
I can tell you from running the witnesses myself that a 4 gigabyte node for the production system is on the ragged edge right now. And if you're going to run a test for throughput, then you need to have at least double that, I think, at a minimum, to make sure that you got all resources covered, and that's not going to be the limitation.
Correct. G Chicken just wrote he's recommending, or they are recommending, 8 gigabyte for the node. I assume you can also temporarily rent a bigger server, and then you have maybe a 30 or 60 gigabyte.
Yeah, it's very costly, but yes, that's the way to go, is to use something like a DigitalOcean or a Voltar, where you can purchase the time for a short period of time. You don't have to pay for a whole month's worth of charges to run a test like this. That's the most economical way to go. You get as much RAM as you can afford.
Yeah, I was playing around with a trading bot, and I got a little bit more into that. That is a really interesting industry to rent these servers just like that. It's surprisingly easy. All right, do we have another topic? I have one more before we are finished with today's show. That was, since Data Security Note just got a new child, this is really cool. He unfortunately will not join our discussion, so I will move the discussion to the next session. But we were talking about a lot, figuring out and discussing the why of BitShares. And we talk about a lot of the features and how cool it is and what it all can do. But the big question, of course, is why does it matter, and why should people care about it? And in this regard, we also have a good comment from BitCrab from the Chinese community, who basically said that he feels that sometimes the word DAC, so the decentralized autonomous companies, are a little bit misleading, and maybe the DAO would be a little bit better, because BitShares is really a unique kind of breed, and it's not really like a company itself. It is more like an organization. Of course, it has workers, it has employees, but it per se doesn't really has dividends in that way, how we understand it. And I would like to see what is your thought about that, how to ramp up a little bit the ideas, the inspiration, the creativity from everybody, so that we can start the discussion next Friday, on the why. Why does BitShares matter? And I'm very excited about your feedback. I wrote down a lot of commentaries. This is also very important for the new BitShares.org website, in the branding, and also in the new marketing that I'm trying to wrap up with my colleague, with Rodrigo, so that we also get a dedicated person for the marketing for BitShares and can restart the branding. Do we have some first ideas and opinions about that right now?
So we're talking about actual, like, changing the branding?
Not really changing, but first defining it a little bit more, and then thinking about what is it really, what drives us all. One of the questions that I wrote, what I wrote down for myself is, if I look at the Mumble and I see 20, 25, almost 30 people who are coming up every month, every week, every Friday, they are showing up here. And it's amazing how many support we have worldwide from everybody, because you're coming here, you're dedicating your time. And I was just wondering why.
Well, one of the main whys is because BitShares enables block pay.
That's true. I mean, being able to hold your money. So being able to control and spend your own money without having to ask permission, so to speak. I think, to me, that's the way I think of it, is kind of the people who don't want permission to be able to withdraw from their bank account, who don't want to need permission to buy something or to take money out of their bank account. You know, they don't want to have to worry about their bank account being able to take and lock their funds and then give them stock in an insolvent bank shares, right? Like, these are the things that, to me, I think that it's a whole generation of people who are upset, but rather than going out and destroying things and rioting, we're building it. We're saying, screw destroying things. Our revolution is building and making giving people freedom.
Yeah, that's a good point. And basically, BitShares allows you to build a lot of cool new features and products and tools to make our life easier, correct? So we really have to think about what kind of motivation drives you to come up, to sit in the Telegram chat, like 2 days away and 1,000 messages in. It's amazing how much activity we have. And I really love it, because if you look at other communities, it's by far not as active as ours. And it's really amazing to see. And I'm just curious, what drives everybody? We have so many cool people on board from all kind of industries and backgrounds. And it's amazing to see you all here. And I just want to learn more about you and why you're here.
Come on, everybody. Everybody's here's got a reason why they're here.
I got interested in BitShares when Mt. Gox's 2 American dollar bank accounts were seized by the U.S. government, and I lost a lot of money. So I don't want that to ever happen again. I don't want to be subject to the risks of centralized exchanges, and I still occasionally have to go into a centralized exchange to change fiat into crypto, but I go in and out absolutely as fast as I can. I never leave money on a centralized exchange.
I'm here for similar reasons, to promote freedom and to promote an alternative system to the mainstream financial systems that are so corrupt and so risky. So, my reason for coming here is BitShares has always demonstrated to me that it's the best blockchain tech out there, and I still think that's true.
I'm just trying to learn the system right now. Too much of a baby in this to go and look any further than that right now.
Well, you're hearing some of the people who've been here. The people who are talking, most of them have been here since dang near day one. As soon as they heard about this project, they've been here. So he's asking everybody for this reason, and it kind of, these are some of the reasons why you're hearing. So maybe this will be something that you'll take into account whenever you're looking at the platform. Maybe someday you'll go, wow, you guys are right. This is a decentralized exchange. Nobody can take my stuff unless I give them my key. Things like that.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm trying to soak up everything that I can and jump on any opportunity to, get in with you guys and see what y'all have to say.
One reason I'm into BitShares is because obviously Bitcoin is incredible and it's freedom to move your money whenever you like. But it's been the case that so far governments have allowed Bitcoin to exist and they've allowed exchanges to exist, and that allows Bitcoin to have a price. But exchanges are the weak point of Bitcoin, and I think governments will clamp down on exchanges and there'll be too much AML, KYC regulations. So we do need a good, robust, decentralized exchange, and that is what BitShares is.
Hello everyone. Today I joined late, and regarding the witness pay problem, I heard the discussion for a long time. Now it sounds that most of the people agree to increase the witness pay to at least 3 BTS per block. But it seems there's not so much support to increase to more. So I think maybe we can leave this discuss open for some more time, and then we can push this forward. I think we will at least increase the pay to 3 BTS.
So that was just for everybody. That was Giant Crab, who's talking, of course, also for the Chinese community. I think, yes, it's a very good discussion. I would like to continue in the forum. Please not in Telegram, because it will be lost there. So please go to the forum to get it there. I thank also everybody for their feedback, why they're here. We hear basically our most loyal BitShares members, and I'm very happy that everybody is on board. And we are now coming to the end of the show, so I really thank everybody for their opinions, for their feedback, and I'm looking forward for your suggestions, what kind of features we're going to introduce next week, and also going to write down all the different topics we're going to have this upcoming week. And today, as I said before, I really would like to leave you with the why. Think about it. And I'm looking forward to a really open discussion next time. Why are you here? Why BitShares matters? And how can we share that with the world so that people are getting as excited as you are and joining us on this exciting journey to share this technology, to share this freedom that we have through the BitShares platform with our own money. Thank you very much for listening. And we are going to continue our show next Friday, 2 p.m. UTC. Please join us again. You can find us on iTunes, but also on steemit.com, on SoundCloud, all around the Beyond Bitcoin radio show. Thank you, everybody. Talk to you soon.